So yes, so let's continue. So what? Yes, today is I think day 7. Day 7, and it is 25th of September. So we have seen very something so exciting yesterday. So we saw a differential equation, and then we saw how to convert that differential equation. So we will just see what we saw yesterday. A quick recall if we have. We had LTI system, and how did we represent? One was the differential equation. Second, another was the pole zero plot. The impulse response h of t. The Laplace transform or the system transfer function h of s, the frequency response h of omega, and then we have the real system, or what we call the hardware implementation of the system. This is something. So now if you look here, all these are the mathematical models, and whereas the sixth one is the real physical system that really exists in front of us, that we can see, and we can give an input, we can observe the output. Now all these models help us in understanding the system, how it behaves, and we can see. So what we have seen yesterday is we saw analysis. We saw analysis of a system, analysis of an LTI system. And what do we mean by analysis? We are given the system. It could be in any form. We are given the system. We are given the system. How are we given the system? Maybe we are given the real physical system. Maybe we are given the impulse response. Maybe we are given the frequency response. Whatever it is, we are given some method, and what we have to we are given the system, and then we do some we study the given system. We try to plot some figures, or we do something, and then we analyze, and then we classify the system. We will tell it is stable. We may tell it's already linear time invariant, so we don't classify in terms of linearity. We say it's stable, or we say it's unstable, and then we say whether it's a low pass, a high pass. We say the type of filter, etc. So these are some things we can tell. Of course, there's one more causality which I have not emphasized. We can classify the system in terms of being causal or non-causal as well. All from the that is given. So this is analysis. The the reverse, or the other essential component of the whole process is design. Design. What is design? We have to tell the model. We have to come out with the transfer function. We have to come out with the differential equation. We have to come out with the differential equation of the system, or we have to tell what should be the transfer function h of it to satisfy certain properties. So that is the design part. Design part, maybe we will take up next class, that is on Monday. We will also start, take up Fourier series and Fourier transform. So we'll start off with that, and we'll have a brief discussion on designing a system. So today we'll continue with analysis, and then we will see what is, we will just make it more general. Yesterday we had taken one specific example and we did. Today we will take it more, little more general, or let us, we'll take one more example. Maybe when we do the code, we will make it generalized. Maybe now we will still keep it as I will still keep it as specific. Let us say d square by dt square y of t plus say 4 d by dt of y of t, and plus say 5 y of t. Again, a second order system is equal to let us say x of t. For now, let us say we keep the numerator as or okay, shall I make it as d by dt of x of t, um, mm, yes, minus x of t. I mean, I'm not sure how the system is going to work. We are just I've randomly taken a differential. We have just taken a differential equation. It's a differential equation. So now let us quickly try to go through, because yesterday we have taken one specific example and we have done it. We'll just quickly see, and then we will write a general program in Python to do everything, including pole zero plot. So we will do that. Today's example is not as we will just go through it. So now, what's the first step? Let us say I want my first one. I want to get the transfer function h of s. We want to get transfer function h of s. So what should we do? We take the Laplace transform of the above, and then when I do it, what do I get? I get my first term as s square y of s plus 4. Okay, I will. I should I? Okay, plus 4 s y of s plus 5 y of s equal to x of s times x of s minus x of s. So what we have now is s square plus 4s plus 5 into y of s is equal to s minus 1 into x of s. So what is the transfer function now? H of s is ys by x of s, and yes, and that is equal to s minus 1 divided by s square plus 4s plus 5. So as simple as that. From the differential equation, we have now got the transfer function h of s. So first step, representing from, and what is the assumption we have done? We have ignored the initial conditions. So that is an assumption, but that's okay. For transfer function, we don't need that. So now my next question is, I need the help of people who are a little fast in mathematics. So now we have h of s is given. So second one we will go is, so we have got the transfer function h of s. Next we will try to get the pole zero plot. A pole zero plot. Today we will have a little bit of complex, not complex, dealing with real and imaginary parts of the. So what is h of s now? S minus 1 by s square plus 4s 4s plus 5. So now what I want you to tell me is what is the numerator. Of course, this is very simple, and then I will have s minus say p1 into, or okay, I will yes, s minus something into again s minus something. And if I call these as say 2 poles, this is a second order, the denominator is second order. So 2 poles P1 and P2. I need someone to help me and tell me what is P1 and P2. Let me just factorize this and tell me what is P1 and P2. What is P1 and P2? What is P1 and what is P2? You have to just factorize. Yes, P1 and P2. There are 2 poles. So yes, very good. I have already got one right answer. Let's give some more time. I request you to try, please, everyone. I'm sure all the students of no matter which year you are in, everybody will be able to give me this answer. Please factorize it and tell me what is P1 and what is P2. So we have two poles and 1 0. So we are intentionally taking a problem which has complex. Like yesterday's example had only real poles. Today I thought let's have some complex pole just to see how I just put the numbers. So I'm not very sure whether it's going to be a low pass filter or a high pass filter or nothing. It may be nothing because filter design is not so easy. Yes, we got two right answers. Can we wait for some more time? And I hope we get some more answers. Karuna and Shashanka have given the right answers. Yes, we have 2 right answers. Can we wait for some more time and can we get some more answers? I got one answer, but that is not right. Just check it. Just recheck. 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 Okay, so I think we have one answer as -2 plus j and -2 minus j. So I request everyone to verify if this is right or wrong. Please verify if this is right or wrong. -2 plus or minus j. So we are having 2 complex conjugate poles. We know that the poles always, when a complex poles always occur as complex conjugate pairs. So please check up and tell me, because I'm getting different answers. I'm getting 1 5 4 1 minus 5 1. Please verify if these answers that they have given, is it right or wrong. So what we have is h of s is equal to s minus 1 divided by s minus 2 plus j into s minus 2 minus j. Please verify and confirm if this the answer is right or wrong. Just multiply and check. If you want me to do, I will do it, but I hope you all will verify and confirm if this factorization is right. Is it right? Is it right? Because we have got 3 different answers. 3 different answers. Okay. Okay, so someone else is confirming that the factorization is right. So you have to just multiply and see whether you're getting back the earlier one. So unless we factorize, so what is it? We have, this system has how many zeros? Has 1 0. Has 1 0. And how many poles does it have? 2 poles. What are the poles? Poles are the roots of the denominator, and zeros are nothing but the roots of the numerator. Sorry. So now if I try to plot my pole 0 plot, if I try to plot my pole 0 plot, always write this as plane. This is real axis and this is imaginary axis. So where do I have my, if I want to use a different color, where is my 0? Can someone tell me where is my 0? If I equate the numerator to 0, where is when does it become a 0? S minus 1 equal to 0. Where do I have a 0? Where should I locate it on this plane? S equal to 1. S equal to 1, is it right side or left side of the S plane? S equal to 1, is it on the right side or left half of the S plane? Yes. So I have 1 0 located at s equal to 1 on the right side. Then I have two poles. Where are my poles? I have one pole -2 plus j and another pole at -2 minus j. So I'll have to go -1 and say -2. This is -2 and this is say +1 and -1. So I have one pole. I have two poles. I have one pole -2. This is -2 minus j. And I have another pole at -2 plus j. Two complex conjugate poles. So poles always occur as complex conjugate pairs. So now by looking at the pole zero plot, who can tell me about the stability of the system? Is the system stable or unstable? Please look at the pole zero plot and tell me, is the system stable or unstable? Yes. We are having one answer. The Shashank says it is stable. Do we have any more answer? Yes. Very good. Everyone is telling the right answer. That's nice. It is stable. It is stable because poles on the left half. Poles on left half. And zeros can lie anywhere. Zero can be right side, left side, it can be anywhere. But when you do this pole zero plot, you have to be very careful. Sometimes in the exam, what I see, some students what they do, they do like this. They do a pole and then they put a round. This is not right. We cannot unnecessarily put markings, or they want to make it very clear, so they do it twice. This also is incorrect. You will never have this situation, because if you have a pole and zero at the same place, they'll get cancelled. Numerator and denominator, if they have the pole located at the same pole and zero at the same location, they'll get cancelled. So this situation will never arise. And if you simply to make it more clear, if you keep drawing, it means that there are multiple poles. And this is not the way we represent multiple poles. If I have two poles at the same place, I put X and then I put a number 2. So this means that there is a multiple pole. Okay, so that's very good. So we know that this system is stable system. So we got the pole zero plot. And why do we have why do we have the poles as complex conjugate pairs? Only then my differential equation coefficient, because the reason we have complex conjugate pair as my poles or zeros, it's because my differential equation will always have real constants. Real constant. You will not have, because if I look at my differential equation, you may have say 2d square by dt square y of t. You may have plus 3 dy by dt etc. You will not have this 3 as 3 plus 2j minus 2j. That you will never have a physical system with coefficients of the differential equation being complex. Are you getting it? The coefficients of the differential equation, and say this equal to x of t. These coefficients are always real for any physical system. Coefficient is always real. So because you have real coefficients, the poles and zeros will be real, and if they are complex, they'll occur as complex conjugate pairs. So that is something you will not have. No physical system will have a complex term. You will not have 3 plus 2j here. You will not have 3 plus 2j dy by dt. You will not have it. You will not have 2 minus 3j. These constants are always real. So that is basic property of any physical system that exists. So that is it. So now we got the second one, the pole zero plot. So next one we will not try for this example. Third one would be, of course, to do it as a partial fraction. Fraction, I'm not sure if you all will give me the answer very soon. If you give it, then we can do the problem. H of s is going to be a by s minus P1, say minus 2 plus j and say plus B by S minus P2. And what is that? minus 2 minus j. Can you get me what is A and what is B? What is A and what is B? Then I will be able to get the inverse transform, and I can get the impulse response of the system. Can anyone help me with the constants A and B? We can do the partial fraction representation and get the impulse response. Please try it. Please try it. It takes a little more time, but please try it. A and B need not be real. A and B may be complex. But again, A and B will be complex conjugate. Yes, are we getting the answers? Anyone? Anyone trying? Yesterday you all gave the answer very fast. I know it takes some time. Or once we get the constant, we can get h of t. What is h of t? A e to the power of s plus a we know. P1 t. P1 t plus b e to the power of P2 t. And of course, both multiplied by u of t. This is the impulse response of the system. It will be very similar to what we got yesterday. If someone is giving the values of A and B, I'll put it. Otherwise, we'll proceed. I have not worked out the example. Yes. And so no matter what is the order of the system, we can get the impulse response in this manner. And similarly, we can get the, if I want the step response, how do I get the step response? In case we want the step response, just integrate the impulse response and then we can get the step response. Or you want any other response, we can compute it accordingly by using the properties. So this is about getting the impulse response of the system, the third method. And what is the fourth one? The fourth one is say h of omega. Okay, no one gave me the answer, so we will still continue. So h of omega. What is h of omega? Just replace h of s by j omega. And then what we have now? What we have the numerator is numerator was s minus 1 and the denominator was s minus, so let me make it as s minus minus 2 plus j into s minus minus 2 minus j. This is what we have, and I need to replace s by j omega. And so what happens is, okay, Jayanti has solved and given. Thank you. Okay, half and 3 by 2. Okay. Is that A? Is it A, Jayanti?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so
That is for A. Yeah.
Jayanti gives A as half plus 3 by 2J. In which case B has to be half minus 3 by 2J. Please verify. Anyone else, at least if you can't get, please verify if this answer is right. If this answer is right, they have to, again, A and B have to be in complex conjugate only. Please verify. Please verify. Anyway, this is the way we get it, so we can continue. We can continue. This is our impulse response. We'll continue. Thank you, Jayanti. Yes. So now if I'm looking at plotting the pole, I mean getting the frequency response. Now let us see how it is. This is because I need to write my Python code for this computation. That is why I am trying to spend some time here. J omega minus 2 plus j, and this is again j omega minus 2 minus j. This is what I have my h of omega as. Now, before we continue with the above computation, I need your help. What help I need is, I need, let us do a little bit of recall. Recall. Suppose I have a complex number, let us say, a number, say P1. P1 is, let us say, A plus JB. Okay, P1 is A plus JB, and P1 is at the same time, A angle theta. A angle theta. And we know how to compute A. How to get A? A is going to be square root of A square plus B square. And how do I get theta? Theta is tan inverse of B by A. This we already know. Now tell me, suppose I have one complex number P1 and another complex number P2. P2, and I want to multiply. I want to multiply the two numbers P1, P2. And let us say this is A1 theta 1, and this is say A2 theta 2. So who can tell me what is the product when I have the complex numbers in polar form? What is the overall product? What is the magnitude of the product, and what is the angle? Yes, two complex numbers are represented in the polar form. Say I have one complex number P1 given by A plus JB, which I can write it as A angle theta. A is nothing but square root of, yes, this is this one and this way. And suppose I have two complex numbers, very good. So if I want to multiply two complex numbers, I simply multiply A1, A2. And how about the angle? The angles get added, theta 1, theta 2. Theta 1, theta 2. Similarly, if I have two numbers, two complex numbers, let us say P1 by P2, then what happens? If this is say A1 theta 1 divided by A2 theta 2, then what is my overall complex number? A1 by A2, and what's the angle? Theta 1 minus theta 2. Yes. So this is something we already know from our complex algebra. These are just multiplication and division of two complex numbers. So we will use this property in computing the frequency response of the system. So now if I want to do, what happens? Suppose I consider the numerator, j omega minus 1. I multiply theta. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Theta plus. Thank you so much, Shashank. Yes, theta 1 plus theta 2. Yes, it is addition, and when it is a division, it's a subtraction. Thank you. Thank you. So now what happens is, here I have, this is my transfer function. This is my transfer function. And for each of these poles and zeros, I can compute the magnitude and the phase. I can compute the magnitude and the phase, and I can get the result. So now we will keep that problem separate. Now let us say I have let us say I have my transfer function h of omega. Okay, let me take the same example that we have. Let me bring down this one. So if I want to compute the numerator, let me just compute the numerator first. Say numerator of omega. If I want to compute numerator of omega, what is the magnitude of this point? Can you tell me what is the magnitude? This is going to be square root of omega square plus 1. Square root of omega square plus 1. And not j, it's square root of omega square. Yes, omega square plus 1. And what is the angle? What is the angle? This is tan inverse of minus omega. So that is minus omega by 1. This is my numerator. Similarly, if I look at denominator, if I want to compute denominator of omega, what happens? If I consider this component, can I write the denominator as, let me rewrite the denominator once. I have j omega and minus j. So I have omega minus 1 into j plus 2 as one component, and the other is omega plus j omega plus 1 into j plus 2. This is what I have as my denominator. Do you get it? This is my denominator, and then I will once again try to represent the first part. What is this magnitude? 2 square plus omega minus 1 square, and the magnitude of this is going to be, if I okay, this will be angle tan inverse of omega minus 1 by 2. This is one point, and the other point is, the second point is square root of omega plus 1 whole square plus 2 square, and angle is tan inverse of omega plus 1 by 2. This is what we have. And then if I can define omega, then I can compute it, and I take the numerator by denominator. In polar form, what happens? Then if I want h of omega, how will I get h of omega? I simply do numerator of omega by denominator of omega. So this is going to give me my plot, and once I plot the response, I can classify whether my filter is low pass, high pass, band pass, etc. We will do this example in by the program. So we saw the impulse response, we saw the pole zero plot, we saw the frequency response, and of course, if I want to compute the output for any other input, suppose my input input x of t is some a cos 5t, then I have to just compute h of omega at omega equal to 5, and then I will get h of omega or h of 5, and once I get, this is again going to be some magnitude and some angle, and I can compute my output y of t, by multiplying by A with this magnitude and then giving a phase shift of this is say M and say theta, then my output is going to be A into M cos 5t minus theta. This is how I can get. So finally, what happens is differential equation coefficients are real. If I give a sign input, my output is real. The roots may be on the pole zero plot, the poles and the zeros may be having complex conjugate pairs. But final result is all real. That is what we need to remember. And I also remember reading like most of the naturally occurring systems are even ordered systems. That was one statement I've read. Physically or naturally occurring systems are even order systems. That aside, but all physical systems will have real coefficients. So this is one part. We will implement this, and we will try to do the program. Now my next question. Our next question is suppose I have a system with say Z1, a system which is having two zeros, zero at minus say minus 2 minus 3j, and say Z2 is say minus 2 plus 3j. Now if I want to plot these zeros, how will I locate it? Minus 2 minus 3j, this is say minus 2 minus 3j, I have a 0, minus 2 plus 3j, I have a 0. So this is how I plot on the S plane, minus 2 and 3j and minus 3j. So what am I plotting in the pole 0 plot? The real component of my root versus the imaginary component of the root. So the real component of my root and versus the imaginary component of the root. Now we can try certain commands like yes, there are commands that give us roots of an equation, or to convert a polynomial from the roots to get the polynomial. We have those commands. We will be using those commands. Now I also want one example. Let us try, because we have done too much of Python, I think. Let's take up one example and let's take up one example on testing the system for linearity. Say if I have an operational amplifier and say this is negative and this is say positive. I hope everyone who's attending this session are all aware of the operational amplifier. Let us say I give this as 1 kilo ohm, and this is as say 2 kilo ohm. What is this? Can someone describe what is the system? What is this circuit doing? Can someone tell me what is happening in the circuit? What's happening? At least the electronic students who are there attending the course. It's an amplifier. Yes. How much does it amplify? It's an amplifier. It's an adder. It's a voltage follower. Wow. Okay, 2 times the input. Good. So we are getting different answers. We will check whether this is an adder or a voltage follower or this. We will implement the circuit on multisim and check. Then my question is it linear or non-linear? Because we are doing LTI systems, we are not doing adders and multipliers. but we need a little bit of adder for the class on Monday. So I just thought at least building a simple circuit with op-amp, we will do it today. So that if I give a circuit, you will be able to implement it yourself.